actually get rid of a food that you crave today and never ever worry about picking it up again?
Well, I just like to eat less.
Okay, so here's the main thing that you have to be sure of that you know is that you can do this in moderation. You can do less. Because what we're trying to do is open up your choices. We're trying to make you not emotionally attached to having to do something, to being open to choices. Choosing to do it rather than having to do it. I have to eat a donut every single night after dinner. I have to. I have to. Well, what if you didn't have to? What if you chose to occasionally? So that's the other thing, is that now what we can do is make it easier for you to choose to when you want to.
Yeah, that's
And that way it wouldn't have any power over you. Is that okay?
yeah.
Very cool.
Because, do you mind telling you kind of what my
Oh,
habit is?
please, that's why we're here.
I tend to do fine during the day.
Mhm.
I can eat moderately and it
Yeah.
doesn't really bother me, but whenever I get home, I want to eat till I go to bed
Yep.
for some reason, and I'm not even hungry.
Anything in particular that you go for that's like your go-to?
If it's available, it's pretty much.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So then, if we were trying to pinpoint exactly what it is that you want to get rid of, is it the behavior of just kind of snacking?
It is.
So it's not a particular food; it's that behavior.
No, it's not that I hate food or
Okay.
anything, or I want to get rid of food. I just don't want to eat it all night long.
Gotcha. Very good.
Okay. I just want to stop the habit of eating it
Gotcha.
when I'm not actually hungry and
Perfect.
it's not necessary.
Good. Good, perfect. So the first person that I worked with, I went ahead and did this just based upon my nature of how I do this. The second time we do this, I'm going to go ahead and run through the checklist so you guys can follow along with me so that you can kind of see the first few times. If you try this with another person, I do highly encourage you to use the checklist. And after you get very comfortable with this, you'll start to notice that you don't need it, okay? So the first thing that I'm going to ask you is about this habit or this behavior. When you're thinking about it now, that act of just kind of snacking, do you get a visual in your mind or a video or anything of you doing that thing or that habit? Do you see yourself doing it? Do you think about when you were talking about that thing that you do, what was going on in your head?
I don't really know.
How'd you know that this was the thing that you don't want to do anymore?
Because I just realized that I do that.
Mm-hmm.
I just became aware of it.
And when you realized it, what thing pops in your head that makes you realize it?
Before I didn't really realize it. I just did it out of habit. I know. Now I look at it and I go, why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm. And when you look at it, what is it that you're doing?
I'm eating a bag of chips.
And where do you go to do that?
In the living room.
In the living room? Where do you get it out of?
Kitchen.
Okay, and whenever you go to open it up, whenever you're thinking about that now, is that in black and white or is that in color when you're thinking about doing that?
It's color.
It's in color, okay. And is it near or far from you as you're thinking about it now, that memory of doing that thing?
The memory
Mhm.
is near. It's far.
Far away from you, okay. And is it bright or dim? Real vivid and high color? Right, okay. And the location of it, as you think about it now, is it happening somewhere in your mind, or are you kind of seeing it play out on the screen, or
I'm watching it.
you're watching it? Okay, are you in it, or are you seeing it through your eyes?
Both.
Okay, and what's the size of it, the picture? Is it a large picture, like panoramic, or is it small, like a little frame?
It's like watching TV.
It's like watching TV, so it's kind of framed, okay? And then, would you say that it's focused or kind of blurry?
It's focused.
It's focused, very clear, okay? And is it a movie or is it still? Are you seeing yourself do the whole act and
It's
mostly still? Okay, great. Are there any sounds associated with it? You hear the bag opening and crinkling as you grab it or anything like that? Any feelings associated with it? Do you feel good when you go to reach for the chips? You do feel good? What's that good feeling feel like? The location of it, is it in your body? Is it like you feel like happiness in your chest?
It's mostly in my mind.
It's mostly in your mind.
Satisfy my craving.
Okay, good. Have you ever smoked a cigarette?
I have not.
Okay, have you ever drank an alcoholic drink?
I have.
And is the buzz that you kind of get when you first taste alcohol, is that similar to the feeling that you get whenever you think about getting the chips, or is it totally different feeling?
It's totally different.
Totally different feeling, okay. And what's the size of the feeling? Is it a big feeling in your head or kind of small?
Probably medium.
Medium size, okay, great. And does it have a shape to it at all, that feeling?
No.
No, okay. And is it intense or is it just kind of dull?
Probably in the middle.
In the middle, okay, great. And so do you guys see that kinesthetically, does he have a lot of associations with this? And then visuals, is this very visually clear? Initially it wasn't, right? And then whenever we started talking about the memory and really getting to relive it, then it was pretty clear, right? Okay, now, do you have a behavior, a habit, or anything that you admire about yourself?
That I admire. Well, I know I do.
Okay, great. Now, let me ask you a question. Is there an ideal image of yourself that you have in your head? Like an ideal, the person who's already solved this problem?
No.
Okay, well, we need to create that real quick. So, every single one of you should have an image in your mind, even if it's really small. A clear picture of you, the ideal you that is a problem solver. The ideal you that's a champion, that's a hero, that's in victory constantly. The person who always solves your problems, okay? Now, what I want you to do is to do your best now to think about what it would look like if you were that person.
Yeah, I like this guy already.
You like him already? Now, whenever you think about this guy, what color shirt is he wearing?
I'm wearing red right now.
Red right now, right. Good. Now we're starting to associate ourselves with this person.
Yeah.
It's good, right? Now, when you think about this person, I want you to imagine this person smashing the image of the guy that you just had who was eating the chips. I want you to completely, like a slingshot, the image of this guy that's a superhero. As a champion, he's going to smash that old image in your mind. And I want you to do that clearly. And if you can't have any sounds or feelings associated with it, I want you to feel it.
Okay. It's kind of like breaking a window.
Okay, and then so do you see it shatter, that image? Now when you think about now how that feels, how does it feel? How will your life be different if you're that new guy?
Well, I won't weigh as much.
That's right. And what else?
I don't need to eat just for the sake of eating.
Right. And what else?
And I feel really good about myself because I'm thin.
Yep. You feel really good about yourself now, right?
In my vision, I'm thin.
Right? Good. And that good feeling that you feel about yourself when you're thin, is it similar to the feeling that you used to get when you were eating the chips? Or is it better?
Well, since you brought it up, it's doing really well now.
It's better now, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So then, now that you think about that old feeling that you used to have about eating the chips, how do you feel about that now?
I don't like it.
Do you feel like that it's something that you're going to want to do?
I hope not.
You hope not. Does it feel like right now that you would want to at all?
Not right now.
Not right now, it doesn't, right? Now let me ask you something. Do you think that that might change?
Well, not till you brought it up.
Not till I brought it up. Now what I've done is I've introduced a new concept. This is the concept that your brain will introduce itself if you don't have a backup. So what you want to do is do it again. Okay? Now I want you to imagine yourself, same movie, same picture of going into the pantry or the kitchen and grabbing the chips.
Okay.
And then you're going to smash it again. With that same ideal image of you as a superhero, as a champion, already solved this problem, and I want you to, just like a window shattering, that picture of you is going to completely be demolished.
You know, this is really awesome. I'm just thinking, I'm wasting all these chips.
Are they shattering and smashing everywhere? They're all over the place. Awesome, that's great. Did anybody else get a similar image that was like that? When he said a window shattering, I actually started seeing and imagining like this movie of him doing this was like a window and just shattering and just blowing apart. Did anybody else get that? Well, you want to make sure that in your mind there's not a piece of that movie left. It has to be completely demolished by that image of you.
So get a broom and sweep it up.
Sweep it up, make sure it's all gone, entirely. This is a very intentional visualization technique. This one's called the swish pattern. Okay? We went ahead and moved on to the next one. And the reason it's different is because I gave him the ideal image of him. The him that solved the problem entirely. That's the difference. See, mapping across is taking a like and a dislike. The behavior, mapping it across to a different behavior. That's not always good. Do you want to know why? Can you always exercise when you want a cigarette?
No.
No. So if you map across a like and a dislike and you give somebody a new behavior to do instead, if they can't access that behavior, then they'll still go back to the trigger. By giving someone the ideal image of themselves, can you always be the ideal image of yourself? Yes, you can. It gives you a different association. Okay? Great job, man. I really appreciate it. Everybody give him a hand.
$100 next time you see me.